4, 3, 2.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sara ala sabilihi ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. So in continuing discussing the book Bulugh al-Maram by Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, and we're continuing discussing concerning the chapter regarding al-buyu. So that chapter discussed concerning of those rules and guidelines that pertains to matters concerning al-buyu, business transaction. So we'll read the hadith and then we'll have a discussion regarding the ahkam and the benefits that can be taken from the hadith and the other things that we normally discuss relating to the hadith bi'awnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the hadith will be read and then we'll go into explain the hadith that is mentioned here. Aywa.
Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. The book of business transactions, chapter number 1, hadith number 653, narrated Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu. A man among us declared that a slave belonging to him would be freed after his death. However, he had no other property, so the Prophet ﷺ sent for him the slave and sold him.
So the hadith that was read is regarding concerning the next hadith to be discussed regarding those matters pertaining to ahkamul al-buyu. And as he titled concerning bab shuruti, regarding some of those conditions regarding al-buyu, wa ma nuhi anhu, minhu, and also those things that have been forbidden regarding business transaction. So after hadith that is mentioned regarding this discussion is the hadith that is the hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah ta'ala anhu, and he mentioned qal, or the hadith mentioned wa anhu, meaning concerning anhu, that's on him, meaning Jabir, as he was the person that mentioned the hadith that was mentioned last. So the word anhu, when it is used, is regarding concerning that the hadith is a narration from the person who narrated the hadith that was mentioned before this one. So in this case, the one who narrated the hadith before this, the prior hadith, was Jabir ibn Abdullah. And I mentioned قال اعتق رجل منا أبدا وله أن دبر لم يكن له مال غيره فدعا به نبي عليه السلام فباعه متفق عليه. So this hadith that is mentioned regarding concerning a person, that a person that he freed a person, a slave that belonged to him, and it mentioned and dubred, and the last upon his death. Then it mentioned lam yakul lahu mal ghayru, and he had no other wealth but him. Then it mentioned that then the Prophet he called the person alayhi salam wabaha, and the person was sold. So regarding this hadith that he mentioned muttafaqun alayh, so the hadith is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, and so this is mentioned. So the hadith here is collected by both Bukhari and Muslim, and mentioned here regarding concerning this wording of the hadith is more close to that of Sahih Bukhari, but also by way of extension, by addition regarding takhrij of the hadith, that you find that others who have worked on this book of Bulugh al-Maram, when they mention this particular hadith that is in Bukhari and Muslim, that they mention concerning that this particular hadith, that it is found in Bukhari and Muslim. So you find that the tahqiq of Sheikh Halak, when he mentioned hadith that of Jabir regarding concerning the freeing of this person, it mentioned regarding concerning when he mentioned hadith, he mentioned akhrajahu Bukhari fi Sahihi and also Muslim, and he mentioned a number. They mentioned qultu, meaning concerning that now he's going to mention some other references. So of those other sources that I've collected this hadith, it mentioned akhrajahu Abu Dawood. So the hadith also is collected by Abu Dawood, and also he mentioned one Nasa'i, and also An-Nasa'i also have narrated this hadith, and also Ibn Majah, and also this hadith can be found in Ibn Majah. So those are the other sources that I've mentioned hadith amongst Kutubu Sitta. So the hadith according to Sheikh Halak in his tahqiq of this book Bulugh al-Maram, he mentioned the hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. Also the hadith can be found in other places, other books. Of those that are mentioned, he mentioned Abu Dawood, Nasa'i, and also Ibn Majah. So that's concerning the other sources that he mentioned. As for Sheikh Al-Sheikh Al-Mahir, that when he mentioned this particular hadith that is mentioned here, he mentioned footnotes 1, the hadith also that he mentioned hadith al-Sahih, akhrajahu Ahmed, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Abu Yala, Ibn Jarud, Ibn Hibban, Bayhaqi. So also these of the sources that he mentioned pertaining to this particular hadith. So he mentioned additional references or sources regarding other collections of hadith other than what was mentioned for the previous. So he mentioned in addition, you have Ahmed, so the hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim. Other than Bukhari and Muslim, the hadith also is found with Ahmed in his Musnad, Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Abu Yala in his Musnad, also Ibn Jarud, and also Ibn Hibban and Bayhaqi. So these are of the other sources of books of hadith that have collected this particular hadith. So it have numerous sources. So the hadith are based upon what have been mentioned here. The hadith is found in Kutub Sitta, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, and also Ahmed also have collected the hadith, and also Ibn Hibban, Ibn Jarud, and also Abu Yala and Al-Bayhaqi. So these are the other sources that mention the hadith as mentioned by Shaykh Mahir. So that's concerned that hadith concerning of the sources pertaining to the reference regarding this particular hadith. So the next matter that we'll discuss, as in our normal method, that's first concerning takhrij of the hadith. So that's concerning in brief regarding the takhrij of the hadith by those who have narrated hadith from other books of hadith other than that were mentioned by the author rahimahullah. Then he mentioned regarding concern that the next matter regarding that the tarjum of the Sahabi, the narrator of the hadith. So this narrator, it is Jabir ibn Abdullah, and before we have somewhat discussed concerning Jabir ibn Abdullah before regarding giving a biography. So Jabir ibn Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Haram al-Ansari al-Khazraji al-Salami. So that's concerning that the name of Jabir. So it's Jabir ibn Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Haram al-Ansari al-Khazraji al-Salami. And also you have those who have narrated hadith in Kutub al-Sitta. So his hadith can be found in Kutub al-Sitta. Also regarding al-Jabir, that as for his kunya, he is referred to as Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah. Qil, it's also said that his kunya is Abu Abdurrahman. So Abu Abdurrahman. And also yaqal Abu Muhammad al-Madani. And also he referred to as Abu Muhammad al-Madani. So that's concerning Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu. We have mentioned certain things regarding him previously, regarding that particular narrator. So regarding concern discussing the hadith as for the ahkam that can be taken from this hadith. So from this hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, that they mentioned regarding concerning that this matter is discussed concerning hukum al-bay' mudabbar. So it's discussing concerning what we refer to as mudabbar. So mudabbar meaning concerning a person who has a slave, and that the person that state as a part of their will, and that if when upon my death this person is released. So a person who has a slave or slaves, and he mentioned that I stipulate that if upon my death then the slave that they are released, then that is called mudabbar. That is referred to as mudabbar. So it's the person who has slave, and that he have stipulate that upon his death, then his slaves are freed. So that's concerning mudabbar. So this person who had a slave, that he mentioned that he wanted a slave to be released upon his death. Then he mentioned that the hadith mentioned that lam yakun lahu mal ghayru, that also this person, he had no other wealth. So he had no other wealth except this slave. Then it mentioned فَدَعَا بِهِ Nabi Islam, so the Prophet Islam, he called this person فَبَعَهُ, and then also he sold this person. So that's concerning, so regarding concerning that they mentioned regarding this particular matter, as we just clarified, as mentioned by Sheikh Abdullah Fawzan, that is the clarify concerning what is the discussion of this hadith and the mawdu' of this hadith, which is mudabbir, concerning the hukum bay al-mudabbir. So the hukum bay al-mudabbir, so we explained concerning what is said to be mudabbir. So it's where so the next matter that it mentioned regarding concerning that of the ulama who discussed that this person that had no other wealth, a discussion, and they discussed concerning that the permissibility of that person being sold before the death of the owner. So the owner initially he intends that upon his death that the slave would be freed. But then is the slave allowed to be sold before the death of the owner? So that's concerning that discussion that this hadith it relates to. So it mentioned regarding concerning that you find a khilaf between the ulama, or discussion between the ulama on that particular matter. So of the ulama that take the position regarding concerning that from that some of the ulama take the view concerning that it is permissible for one to sell a slave with that condition in place, whether the owner is in need, whether there's a need or there's not a need. So that's the view of the ulama, that it is generally, that it is allowed that such a sale, such situation, if it was to occur, that slave could be sold, whether there was a need or not. And that's the call that is taken by of those that is permissible to be sold, of the view of Imam al-Shafi, and what is mashhur of the madhab of the Hanabila of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, where all called inama, that it is allowed to be sold that is allowed to be sold, that is allowed to be sold. That concerns the first view, and the evidence is this hadith, where they mentioned the Prophet Islam that he had this person, called this person, and had him sold. He called this person and had him sold. So he showed that this person can be sold. Of a second view of the ulama, قول that they mentioned أنه لا يجوز إلا يجوز أن يباع, that such a person, a slave in this situation, is not allowed to be sold except in a case of need. Except in a case of need. Regarding concerning need, regarding the original owner, he had debts to be paid, or he has other responsibilities. So a case of need, they mentioned he can be sold, and that's the view that is taken by the likes of Hassan al-Basri, Ata, and also is a riwayah on Imam Ahmed, a second view Ahmed ibn Hanbal, and also is the view that Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, that is more inclined towards that view. So Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, that is more inclined towards this view that in such cases that is not allowed to be sold. Such a slave, male or female, that they are not allowed to be sold, because the person had intent for them to be freed. So they are not to be sold, and only can be sold only in a case of that there is a need. As for the second view, that holds that such a slave can be sold in this situation, whether there was a need or not a need. Whether there was a need or not a need. So that's concerning, and they may use concerning this hadith. It shows that he can be, so this hadith mentions that he was sold by the Prophet Islam, so this indicates that he can be sold. So they mentioned that that's concerning that the view that they have taken. So they mentioned also the person who initially may have had that intention as being the owner of the slave, that his initial intention is for the slave to be released upon his death, but also he can withdraw from this. So he can withdraw this, and if he wished to, while he was still alive, to have the slave be sold, he can do so. So he can change his mind. So the fact that he can, so they mentioned no. So because of he can change of his mind, he can come back, change of his mind. So also of that change of mind, and also of those things that can occur, that is sold before the death of the owner. So that's concerned that matter regarding that this particular discussion. There's some narration that mention anhu qal fahtaj, that concern if there's a khayr, which is they mention that some narration can somewhat mention fahtaj, but I mentioned concern that that's on the discussion regarding that riwayah, but overall I mentioned that so that's concerned the aqwal of the ulama on that matter. So that's the aqwal of the ulama on that matter regarding that such a slave, mudabbar, that mudabbar meaning, as we said, that the owner, he intends or wishes for that slave to be released upon his death. So the discussion between the ulama, can this slave be sold before the death, before this is carried through, and of the view, it is allowed. That's a view taken by some of the ulama, and also of the ulama who take the view that it is not allowed. And based upon the hadith that they show that indicate that it is allowed, based upon the hadith that it indicates that it is something which is allowed to be done. And that also this matter will maybe discuss further, but this hadith can somewhat indicate concern. So this is the hadith that is used regarding the permissibility of, in this case, based upon this hadith. Then based upon this hadith being, as we mentioned, discussed that particular matter, then we'll go to also, so this hadith, it relates regarding of those cases regarding concerning a chapter, regarding concern that if there's a condition that have been placed, a stipulation regarding a certain things, can one go against this and come back from this or change one's intent regarding what the person initially intended to do. So from the hadith it shows that, so that's of those things regarding the shurut, do one have to still fulfill those conditions, or that condition can be broken regarding these type of stipulations that are sometime made. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll go to the next discussion, or the next set of hadith that are discussed in this series concerning Bulugh al-Maram, which he mentioned the hadith of Maymuna and also the hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu regarding the topic concerning mice. So we'll read the hadith and then we'll discuss the ahkam that can be taken from these hadiths.
Hadith number 654, narrated Maymuna radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A mouse fell into some ghee and died. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked about it, and he replied, throw it and what is surrounding, touching it away and eat it, that what remained untouched.
Hadith after.
Hadith number 655, narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, if a mouse falls into ghee which is solid, throw the mouse and what is surrounding it away, but if it is in a liquid state, do not go near it.
The sources, Rawahu, collected by
Ahmad and Abu Dawood reported it, Al-Bukhari and Abu Hatim ruled it to be waham and error in reporting it from Abu Hurairah.
Aywa, Jade. So that's concerning this discussion regarding of those matters regarding concerning that that he mentioned regarding concerning that of a mouse. So discussion regarding regarding concerning the mouse, concerning discussing this matter concerning fa'ra. So as for this matter that he discussed, he mentioned two hadith that relate to this particular matter. First, the hadith of Maymuna, and the second hadith of Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhuma. So as for those hadith that as well concerning an Maymunata radhiyallahu anha, زوج النبي عليه السلام, who was the wife of the Prophet عليه السلام, أن فهرة وقعت في سم, that a mouse fell into butter فماتت فيه, and it died in the butter. فسئل النبي عليه السلام عنها. So he عليه السلام, he was asked regarding this matter. فقال, then he عليه السلام, he responded by saying, ألقاها, then it's to be thrown out, وما حولها, and that which is around it, in the vicinity of that, wa kuluhu, and then you can eat what remains. Then he mentioned rawahu Bukhari, so the hadith is collected by Bukhari. Then he mentioned wazad Ahmed, in the narration of Ahmed there's some additional, when Nasahi, where he mentioned fi sahmin jamidin. So in the narration of Ahmed and Nasa'i, that also have an extra wording which it says fi sahmin jamidin, that the sam, that it was something which was solid. So that's concerning the first hadith. So as for the first hadith, we discussed concerning, so as for the first hadith regarding concerning is takhrij, then we discussed concerning the second hadith. So as for the first hadith of Maymuna, that mentioned here, that they state concerning, that this hadith concerned that it's the hadith of Bukhari. So they mentioned regarding concerning this particular hadith, that of Maymuna, that is narrated by Imam Bukhari rahimahullah in several places, by Bukhari rahimahullah in several places, and also they mentioned that the hadith also in the Ahmed wa Nasa'i, but Ahmed and Nasa'i in their narration of hadith, when they use the word sam, butter, they mention jamid, that it was solid butter. So they mentioned regarding concerning that that's of that ziyada, an increase in wording in the hadith. So as for that hadith, they mentioned that is in Bukhari, as we had stated, and he have mentioned in several places in his Sahih. So this hadith is mentioned by Bukhari rahimahullah in several places in his collection. Then as for the narration of that additional wording of they mentioned here of Nasa'i and Ahmed, then we have a discussion between the ulama on that matter. So regarding concern that narration of Nasa'i and Ahmed regarding that it was solid butter, then I mentioned that that particular narration is come by Muhammad ibn Mus'ab. Muhammad ibn Mus'ab, and they mentioned regarding an Awza'i and a Zuhri, where they mentioned that he mentioned a hadith, but they mentioned one that this particular narration where there's an additional of the word jamid was added. So in most of narration, that the word jamid, that the butter was solid, that the word solid was an additional word that was mentioned, wording that was mentioned by some narrators, but you find some of the ulama have criticized this extra additional wording. So amongst those who have criticized this extra word, I mentioned that Ibn Abdul Hadi, that I've mentioned is ziyada, this additional wording of jamid, meaning jamid, that is something which is solid, that's the wording from Muhammad ibn Mus'ab. Muhammad ibn Mus'ab is the one who added this wording, and also is considered to be, is criticized. He mentioned that da'afahu Yahya ibn Ma'in wal Jama'. So you find a group of the ulama of them, Yahya ibn Ma'in, that have criticized this person, all them to be da'if. So they mentioned that, and also Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, that you mentioned about this person, Muhammad ibn Mus'ab, that he mentioned that haluhu annahu suduk kathir ghalat. He's a person who said to be suduk, of a level of acceptability, but also kathir ghalat. But he makes a lot of errors. He makes many errors. So based upon this, they mentioned that that particular wording, it is something which is not a part of the hadith. So that wording is not a part of the hadith. Then that's concerning the first hadith. As for the second hadith that is mentioned, that regarding concerning that also hadith, that also of that is mentioned, also that the hadith is so that's concerning the first hadith that is mentioned regarding that particular matter. Then as for the second hadith that he mentioned, that they mentioned the hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu on this particular matter, where they mentioned that the hadith here is similar to the hadith of Maymuna, but the ulama have mentioned regarding concerning that there also occurred some error regarding this particular second hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu, where he mentioned that إذا وقت فهرة في سم, if a mouse was to fall into butter, فإن كان جامدا, if it is something which is liquid, فألقاها, then it should be thrown out, وما حولها, and what is around it, وإن كان ماعيا, if it is something which is liquefied, liquid, فلا تقربوه, then one should not bring it close. Then it mentioned رواه أحمد وأبو داود وقد حكم عليه بخاري, that Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, that have criticized Abu Hatim بالوهم, that there are some errors that have occurred in the hadith. So there's some errors that have occurred inside the hadith based upon what have been mentioned by Imam al-Bukhari and also Imam Abu Hatim al-Razi rahimahullah jami'an. So as for the second hadith Abu Hurairah anhu, that I mentioned, the hadith kind of somewhat under some discussion between the ulama regarding concerning that there's some errors that occurred in the hadith. So based upon this, that in a nutshell regarding concerning this, some as mentioned by Bukhari and Abu Hatim, that some errors occurred. Some errors occurred in this narration of the hadith, that of one narration concerning that fi hadith. So some errors of Al-Ma'mar have made some errors. So narrators made some errors regarding this particular hadith, and based upon this, that I mentioned that Ma'mar ibn Rashid, فقد أخطأ في الإسناد, that Ma'mar ibn Rashid, one of the narrators, that he made some errors. So he made errors regarding the matan and also the isnad. He made errors regarding adding the word of jamid again in the isnad, and also of the errors regarding that the ulama mentioned that the hadith here, that hadith of not Abu Hurairah, but the hadith actually hadith of Maymuna, but then some errors occur regarding that mention the hadith of Abu Hurairah. So you have that discussion regarding errors occurred regarding the isnad and also regarding the matan of the hadith. And that's why Imam Bukhari and also Abu Hatim, that they criticize this particular hadith. But the hadith generally is similar to the hadith that was mentioned previous by Maymuna. So similar of the hadith of Maymuna, but some errors occurred regarding the second hadith of Abu Hurairah, and some of those errors occur by way of Ma'mar ibn Rashid. So Ma'mar ibn Rashid, that made some errors regarding this particular hadith. So that's concerning that particular matter regarding this particular hadith. So the next of those matters to be covered, so that's concerning a general concerning that takhrij or hukum upon the hadith. So general takhrij upon this hadith. As for the ahkam that can be taken from the hadith, Sheikh Abdullah Fawzan, he mentioned regarding that of those things regarding that first, regarding concerning, we discussed concerning the narrator of the hadith. So for us, we discussed concerning first regarding Maymuna. So Maymuna, this is one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. So she's classed as Mu'mineen, one of the mothers of the believers. Her name is Maymuna bint al-Harith. So Maymuna bint al-Harith ibn Hazn Hilaliya. So Maymuna bint al-Harith ibn Hazn Hilaliya. So that's concerning Maymuna. And she was one of the Prophet Islam wives. Also regarding Maymuna, that she was married before the Prophet Islam, so of those who she was a divorcee, where she was married, and then her husband, before to her husband, her first husband regarding Mas'ud ibn Amr al-Thaqafi. So her first husband was that she married to, his name was Mas'ud ibn Amr al-Thaqafi, and she married him right before Islam, and then they were separated. Then after she married again a second time, and that husband of hers, he died. So she married a second time, and her husband died. And then the Prophet Islam, then he married her. The Prophet Islam, then he married her. And that he married her, the Prophet Islam, after coming back, or the end, completing Umratul Qadha. So after he ended concerning Umratul Qadha, that was in the 7th year of the Hijrah, that he had married her. So he married her concerning Sanata al-Sab, the 7th year, in the month they mentioned, Zil al-Qiyada. But he married her that time after ending, complete doing concerning Umratul Qadha. That was in the 7th year of the Hijrah. He married to her. And in a place called Sarf. And it is stated by Mujahid that also her name before, that she was referred to as Barra. She was meant to as Barra. So she was referred to as Barra. Then the Prophet Islam, that he changed her name to Maymuna. And then also Khala al-Khalifa, that Tawaffat, that she died Sana Ihda wa Khamseen, that she died the year 51 of the Hijrah. She died here 51 al-Hijri when she died. So that's concerning Maymuna, who's al-Mu'mineen. And as we mentioned, that she's one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, and we mentioned something and her hadith. So she have narrated some hadith of those who have narrated a hadith. So regarding concern this case, that it mentioned regarding concern of the ahkam, that regarding concerning this particular hadith, that the one who asked the question regarding this matter of narrated mentioned, it was Maymuna. So she was the one who was asking because that incident occurred. So she's the one who asked the Prophet ﷺ regarding this particular matter, as in some narration of Imam Malik. So of the narrations of Imam Malik, that stated that she was the one who asked the question. So as for the hadith and what can be taken from the hadith, then of the ulama mentioned regarding concern this hadith is a proof regarding that if a mouse was to fall into things like butter and then died in it, so he fell into the butter, died in it, then discuss concern that they mention that that which is the ear that he died, then that ear is considered to be najas. So concern that it's considered to be najas. So najas means that it is not something which is permissible to be used, because he fell into the butter. Then second thing that occurred, that he died, so become like that corpse, that and then the next thing regarding concern, that ear is considered to be najas because of the death of that mouse in that butter. Then as for and what's around it is to be removed. So what is around the ear that he died, the mouse died, is to be removed. as mentioned, alqaha, it should be thrown out, and what is around it. As for what remain, then it's considered to be tahir. What remain is considered to be tahir. So the portion, the area that he fell in and died, that area is considered to be najas and to be thrown away. As for what remain of the butter, then that is considered to be tahir. The ulama, so that's concerned the view of some of the ulama on this matter, and those who of this view that are all concerned there's no difference between whether it was a large amount or small amount. So they're all concerned to know that is considered to be tahir, what remains, what the area that he fell in is considered to be najas because he died, and that is thrown out. Then a second view of the ulama is that they make a distinction, and they also that so that's concerning that view. Also, that view, the first view, don't make a distinction regarding concerning being something which is solid or liquid. As for the second view on this matter, the second view of the ulama, that they take the position regarding concerning al-tafriq bain al-jamid wal-ma'i. So regarding concerning, they take and make a distinction regarding that matter that the mouse fell into. They make a distinction regarding that which is solid and that which is liquid. So they mention if it is something which is solid, jamid, yahkum fihi bin najasa ma jawar and najasa. So they mention the area that he fell in and he died, then that's considered, that area it is considered to be najas, and as for what remains, it is considered to be tahir. So they mention first regarding that if the jamid, that which is solid, the area that he fell in, the mouse, and he died, that's najas, and what's around it, but what remain, then it is tahir. And they mentioned it called haka Ibn Abdul Barr ittifaq ala dhalik. Ibn Abdul Barr rahimullah mentioned it as an ittifaq, an agreement on that matter. As for al-ma'a, as for that is which is liquid, the second view that make a distinction between that which is liquid and that which is solid. As for the liquid, in case of which is something which is liquid, running, they mention that all of it is najas. So if something which is more liquid, running, then all of this, they mention, it is all najas. So if he falls in it and dies, then everything becomes najas. Whether it is small or large quantity. Whether it changes or doesn't change, change regarding concerning the smell, the color, or the taste, whether this occurs or not, is considered to be najas. And that's the matter of the jumhur of the ulama. So the jumhur of the ulama, they make a distinction between that which is solid and that which is liquid. So it's solid portion that is considered to be impure, that he fell and died, and the portion that remains, then that is pure. As for liquid, they mentioned, if he dies, fell in it and dies, then everything becomes impure and not to be used. And they use as a dalil, jumhur of the ulama, regarding the dalil concerning the riwayah that is mentioned by Ma'mar ibn Rashid. And we mentioned that wording of Ma'mar ibn Rashid, that is an error, that is not authentic, regarding concerning, make a distinction regarding jamid. So but that they use as a dalil to make that distinction between al-ma'a wal jamid. So that's concerning, that's the view that they take regarding jumhur of the ulama. And Allahu alam, and Sheikh Fawzani, all concerning that al-qawl al-awwal arjah, that qawl al-awwal, that it is more correct regarding the difference between the ulama on this particular matter. That regarding concern, so they mentioned that if there's changes that occur regarding the smell, the taste, and the color, then that will have an impact on the final ruling. But if those things does not occur, then the part that is that he fell and died, that is removed, and what remain, it is still pure. And he mentioned that's the view that is taken by some of the Sahaba, amongst them Ibn Abbas and also Ibn Mas'ud Ratala anhuma, and also of contemporaries who take to that view. The first view, that of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah. So Sheikh Ibn Aziz bin Baz rahimahullah is more inclined towards this view. So as mentioned, because of the discussion regarding concern that additional wording that is stated by Ma'mar, but I mentioned that an error occurred where he mentioned something that is considered to be it is jamid, but that narration is not, that wording is not correct. That meaning not correct. It is daif. It is daif, weak, and not a part of the the hadith. So that's concerning that matter that they discuss regarding this particular hadith. So also they discuss that's concerned that as for the what remain of the butter are concerned the ruling concerning taharatul of the sam, the butter, then it goes back to if it is changed, what remain, it is changed by way of the color, the taste, or the smell, then it becomes najis. But if it is not affected by these, then it remains tahir. So what remains, if it is not affected by the color, taste, or smell, then it is tahir. But if it is affected by one of those three, then it becomes najis. It becomes najis. So it goes back to the hukum that was discussed before regarding water and liquid. If anything that is impure that gets into it, and if it changes one of those three qualities, then it is considered to be najis. But if it does not affect the water or that liquid by one of these three qualities, then it remains pure. It remains pure. So that's concerning that discussion between the ulama on that particular matter. And next matter to discuss regarding concerning that that they mentioned by way of qiyas, that other things are included regarding the hadith. It's mentioned regarding butter, some butter, but also they mentioned by this concern that the other things are also would be included regarding a zayt, regarding concerning that asal, regarding of other things that are similar, such as concerning that oil, also concerning that would be included similarly in this on this ruling regarding concerning that milk and these type of liquid, and also concerning al-asal, which will be honey. So if something like a mouse was to fall into it, then the same ruling will apply. Same ruling would applies, as in the case of in the hadith. So it said the case occur regarding butter, but also anything that are similar, then the same ruling would apply. The same ruling would applies. Also, from the hadith, what indicates from the hadith that the Shaykh mentioned, دل الحديث بمفهوم على أن فهرة لو وقعت في سم ثم خرجت وهي حي أن السم لا ينجس. Or that he mentioned that if, based upon the hadith that what has been mentioned, that if a mouse was to fall into butter or that type of liquid, that type of thing, those type of things, and it fall and still alive and it came out, then that thing is considered to be pure. Those things are not considered to be impure. So they're not considered to be impure if the mouse was to fall into something, then came out, then that thing is not considered to be impure, as the hadith mentioned regarding that he died in that thing, and that is why concerned he was told to remove that part that he died in and to use what remain. So they said based upon if he did not die, then that thing still remain usable. It still remain usable, and that's concerning a discussion between the ulama. So that's our next discussion between of the ulama regarding concerning that. So it is stated here regarding concern of those discussion. Of the discussion concern that that concerning that these type of things that if are these things that al yajuz, al bay, al zayt, mutanajjis. So these things that if it's considered to be zayt or ani or these type of things, if where for example as in the hadith that the mouse he fell into this butter, that part that is thrown out considered to be najas, that he died and it is now become considered to be najas, is allowed to be sold. So the hadith is discussing concerning things that are considered to be najas. Are they allowed to be sold? So regarding concerns on ulama, so you find that regarding concerning things that are said to be najas, impure, are they allowed to be sold? So they mentioned the akthar al-ilm regarding concerning things like a zayt mutanajjis that are considered to be لا يمكن فصل النجاسة من, where a person cannot separate between the najasa. I mentioned لا يجوز لا يجوزون بيعه, that is not allowed for it to be sold. So things that are said to be najas, that one can, that for that is considered to be impure, they are not allowed to be sold. So they mentioned concerns, so, and that's the view of the Hanabila, and also some of the Shafi'iyya, and also the call taken by Imam and Malik, with Jumhur of the ulama, that such things that are said to be najas, things that have impurities within them, that they are, regarding the sense of that zayt or honey, if there's something impure in it, then it's not to be sold. So that the honey itself is pure, because something impure got into it. That part that is removed, the one is not allowed to sell the honey with that impurity in it. Then Islam mentioned that you can eat from it. So what remain can be eaten, but the part that is impure is not to be used, is not to be eaten. Or they mention here not to be sold. But they mentioned Abu Hanifa rahimullah, and Ishaq, and also Alayth ibn Sa'd, that concern yajuz bayuha, that is allowed for things of this nature, that is allowed to be sold. It is allowed to be sold according to Abu Hanifa rahimullah, and also his companions, and also Layth ibn Sa'd, that is allowed for those things that have najas, that of that nature, of that type, then it can be sold. It can be sold. So they mentioned that if that thing can be purified, that it is not to be, that if something can be, so that's the discussion between the ulama on that matter, regarding that, that it's allowed to be sold or not allowed to be sold. Of those who hold it, it can be sold. And you find that other mention, because if there's a benefit that can be used, be made from it, where it's not per se eaten, but there's a manfa, there's a benefit that it can be used for, then it can be sold. So if those things can be used for other things, but not be eaten, consumed, then they mention it can be sold. So Allahu Alam, that regard concern, even though it is somewhat of a degree of najasa in it, but if it can be used in a way which is a beneficial way, of the ulama all that, it can be sold, as the view of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah and others. So, or I mentioned, if that thing, that if it is put and can be purified, that impurity can be removed, then it can be sold. So that impurity can be removed and it be sold, then the all that also is considered that it can be sold. It can be sold. So that's concerned that matter regarding those things, regarding concerning the selling of these matter regarding zayt or salmon that have impurity. Can it be sold? We mentioned discussion between the ulama that's considered to be. We mentioned discussion of the ulama. Of those who hold that it, Jumhur, should not be sold, but of the ulama who it can be sold. So that's concerning this matter with the hadith mentioned that they mentioned that it mentioned kuluhu, that you can eat what remain, which is the pure part, but it didn't. The other part they mentioned to be thrown away. So you have that discussion between the ulama on that particular matter. And next matter that we'll add regarding this particular discussion is regarding concerning matter that relates to the mouse itself. So regarding concerning the mouse, this creature, that the mouse, of those things that are considered to be fawasiq, of those animals that we are allowed to kill because of the allowance was given regarding that it can be killed. So regarding concern that one, regarding concern this matter that ulama discussed concerning that, the mouse itself, is it considered to be a pure animal or impure? The mouse, is it deemed to be tahir or najis? So on that matter, you have a khilaf between the ulama. So regarding concern the hukum regarding the mouse, is it classed as an animal or a creature that is said to be pure or impure? Of the ulama, ذهب المالكية والشافعية والحنابلة إلى أن الفأر طاهر. That the Hanabila, the Shafi'iyya, and the Malikiyya, all that it is this creature, it is pure. It is pure. as they kind of somewhat all concerned that they mentioned that, as mentioned by some regarding that. So they mentioned today it is pure, and they mentioned that the Malikiya, they kind of somewhat state concerning that all ayawan al-hay, so all animals that is said to be alive, live animals, that they are pure. All live animals that they are pure. We mention, except with the exception concerning al-khanzir wal-kalb. So that's concerning with some of the ulama. So you find that also An-Nawawi rahimahullah mentioned al-hayawanan kulluhu tahir illa al-kalb wal-khanzir. So that's concerning An-Nawawi rahimahullah. He mentioned regarding concern that no, all haya, that these creatures, that they are said to be pure except for the dog and the pig. So by this they're all concerned that, that the mouse is considered to be classed as a creature which is pure. That's concerning the first view of the ulama. As for the second view of the ulama on this matter, where that of the ulama concerned the Hanafiya, that they're all concerned that the mouse, it is najas. So regarding concerning the mouse, they consider to be of a creature which is najas. So that's concerned this matter. So said not based upon the hadith that if it has passed away, it's considered to be najas for sure, and make those things that it's around impure. But if it's alive, then the ulama have a discussion regarding it. If it's alive, both find that majority all that it is pure, and some all that it is impure, which are the ahnaf. Then as for the next matter is regarding concerning it's kharij min al-fa'ra, concerning those things that the droppings or the waste from them. So regarding concerning that their droppings and also their urine. Is this also what's the ruling on this particular matter? Also again a khilaf between the ulama. So a khilaf between the ulama regarding this particular matter, where of those that hold it to be something which is impure. And regarding concern that with the mouse, that they are known that they are kind of somewhat that their urine and also their droppings can also be something which is dangerous, can be something which is very harmful to a person. So that's concerning that. So in general concerns, so even a discussion between ulama, but what have been that some of the ulama amongst the ahnaf, they are all concerned that it is something which is pure, and others all that is something which is najas. So you have a discussion between the ulama on this matter, but overall that the correct view that is something which is najas. So regarding their droppings, it is considered to be impure. That's the correct view, even though some of the ulama may have said otherwise, but the correct view is that it is impure. So anything that is any droppings or this or from them, then it is considered to be impure. So that's concerned those matters that relates to that particular creature. So from this, that from these ahadith that we have mentioned regarding concerning that it shows regarding concerning that one that based upon the hadith of Maymuna that mentioned regarding concern that the mouse, the mouse that have died, that is considered to be najas, and the thing that is around it is considered that regarding things that can be eaten or be drink, then also those things are considered to be najas that's around it, or qarib, are very close beside it. Second, regarding concern that the mouse droppings also is considered to be najas upon the correct view of the ulama. Also regarding third, that if a mouse was to fall into something liquid and then it comes out of it, then that thing is not considered to be impure. So if it would fall into something and then it comes out, then that thing is not considered to be impure. That thing is considered to be still pure. Also from the, so that's concerned, and also the hadith also showed regarding concern with the mouse, if it dies, the thing that is in its immediate area, also those things are to be removed and not to be used. But we have to eat of those things is not to be done. Also it shows regarding concern to know that but what remain is still tahir, still good and can be eaten. So it shows regarding that. So it shows regard. So that's concern of those things that is to be considered. So not to be wasteful to throw away everything, but to throw away only those things that is considered to be najas and the remain is considered to be tahir and still can be used. So not being wasteful regarding certain matters. And also regarding the thing that regarding concerning that the part that is considered to be najas, then from the hadith the person not to benefit by way of eating and use of that. But we mentioned that khilaf between the ulama regarding concerning that is it allowed concerning to eat of it is not to be done. Then the ulama have a khilaf between the ulama regarding that what is other than what can be eaten, to use for other than for eating, can one benefit from this? The Shafi'i awlat la yajuz intifa bihi fi ghayri akhla. That's not. So you have a khilaf between the ulama regarding that yajuz, it is permissible to benefit from it other than eating. Of the ulama all that what is there, even though it is najas, that one can benefit from it, but the person cannot eat of it, one cannot consume of it. So that's concerned the discussion regarding this matter. And also the ahnaf all let know what is the najas, the part which is considered to be impure, that also it can be sold, and also can be, it can be a one. So so those are things regarding of the things that are said to be things that are not allowed. So come on, the discussion, can those things of najas be sold or not? So you have that discussion between the ulama on that particular matter. So that's inshallah, with this inshallah ta'ala, we have now completed that hadith and some of the benefits and the ahkam that can be taken from these ahadith that we have read for today. So with this inshallah ta'ala will end for today. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه إلى السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.